Hey, welcome back to Electrovox. Today we are in Camden at the Black Heart, for we are at an Beat Cancer event again. We've got iVardensphere, we've got Biomechanimal, we've got Bein-E, and we have red meat. So this is Rhys. Thank you very much, Rhys, for joining us.
No problem.
So for those who don't know red meat, have at it. Tell us what it's all about.
Red-Me is an openly queer techno-industrial project. Started it 2 years ago when I effectively finished up my former project, Dead Pixel. Unfortunately, Acronia split with my former bandmates and just didn't really feel into it anymore. So while we were all in lockdown, picked up a set of drum pads and started writing from scratch again. What came out is what we now know as Red-Me. It's completely uninhibited. It's filled with drums.
Fair enough. And is that something you'd sort of experimented in before, or was that sort of?
No, I mean, if you go back into my background, I mean, obviously many years ago I was part of Modulate, and obviously I was dance orientated, and once I'd left Modulate I didn't really feel I wanted to do dance music in any way, shape or form anymore. I had Dead Pixel working at that time, so started up doing Dead Pixel as a project, got 2 band members in onto that. We did Infest in 2019, but then after that I just seemed to run out of steam with it. Because, you know, no one's fault, these things happen. And so from that I basically went back to ground zero again, and I was like, well, what can I do now? What do I want to do now? I started to get fairly involved in the techno scene in Manchester, because obviously we had Drone Night in Manchester at White Hotel. Does a lot of the German techno, a lot of the industrial techno, and a little bit of the experimental side of things as well. I started going on to that, and it was like an awakening, it was like an eye-opening. Going to wow, this is some next level stuff. This is like, it's heavy beats, but it's, you know, it's not got that cheesy quality. It's not got that. I don't mean this as disrespect to anyone that obviously does like the cheesy German industrial stuff. That's fine. You know, people do that. That's okay. But it's not really for me. I don't really feel part of what that does. But then hearing what's coming out of these techno nights, it's like, bloody hell. It's like a reawakening back to the power noise of like the early 2000s. Like, okay, so let's try and experiment with this. So I got the Nord Drum Free and started layering some loops with that. And sure enough, in the space of like 3 or 4 weeks, the first track had come together. It's one was still not released actually. It's a bit of a mess in all fairness, but it was all right. Yeah, there's an idea there. Let's try and push this a little bit more. So just went back to drumming away, playing along, and then bang, next thing you know, Eat Me Beat Me's written. Okay, well this is a great little song, but it needs some vocals. And so I went back to a former experience I had working in a warehouse. Obviously I'm openly queer, and I've been openly queer for years, and I don't know if you ever worked in warehouses being openly LGBT, but it's effectively a death sentence in a lot of warehouses in small town North Manchester. And so it's like came up to me and threatened me. As my response, rather than being one of dismay or upset, I just turned around and went, baby, all you're doing is turning me on. And that experience obviously went into the lyrics for Eat Me Beat Me, and like, hold on a second, we've got something here. Because while there are quite a few openly queer industrial bands, you know, it's where industrial comes from in the first place. A lot of the formative years of industrial are openly queer bands. And we seem to have the lull, and we seem to have had this over-sexualization in a different direction, which, you know, I'm not shaming that in any way, shape or form. That's great, that's fine. No interest to me whatsoever. But, I mean, alright, so there's a lot of people doing that stuff, so how about I go back to this place? How about I go back to this place where industrial started and start leaning more on my own experiences being an openly queer guy? And so Eat Me Beat Me, Harder, Deeper, Darker, Daddy. And you start to see a pattern emerging, and it's like, okay, we've got a vibe here, we've got a feeling, this is really working. And then, so how do we present this on stage? And then that's when the leather comes into it.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
because when I first started in the scene, started DJing, we used to run a club night in Huddersfield called Implant. And me and a guy called Matt Smith, may know him as Matt Noise. He used to DJ down in London many years ago. But yeah, we started a club in Huddersfield, and then we went, I know, let's move this to Manchester. So we did. We moved it to a venue called Legends, which was, I should say, one of the largest underground bear meetup places in the entirety of Manchester, or was in the entirety of Manchester. You used to have all the bear rallies there, you used to have Scally rally, you used to have a lot of the heavier, more fetish side of the queer sphere involved there, and you went down to a room where we used to DJ and there'd be Tom of Finland posters all over the wall, and it's that realisation that everything's connected. These experiences that I've had over the years have been sat there gestating over a period of time, and what I am doing now feels like the most natural progression musically for me that I've ever had, because it's completely inhibited, its inhibitions are gone. It just cuts loose, it has fun on stage, and it's hedonism, it enjoys itself, but it enjoys itself in a very tongue-in-cheek fashion.
Okay, so I mean, your music with Red Meat is very aggressive, it's very spicy, you'll love it. If you're a fan of Three Teeth, there might be some similarity there for you. Now, because of these past experiences that have led you to making this song, is this sort of your catharsis, your way of getting out this anger and therefore giving you these songs?
It's an interesting question, and I think it's certainly one that I've had looked into myself, and think, yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff in there as it's getting my angers, because when I first opened up as openly bisexual in like the late 90s, the world was a very different place. People's attitudes were very different. It was a lot more dangerous to come out than it is these days. But the experiences over the years that have pushed me back in the closet time and time again, everything from your local assholes to gatekeepers within the queer community, because obviously you're saying queer, but I'm open bisexual, and bisexuality is its own stigma attached to it.
Definitely.
And that's again something that I try and break with this, because yes, I'm openly queer, I also have 3 daughters. I'm openly queer in front of them, I'm openly queer with my partner's openly queer and NB. So, you know, we're a very open family about things. And for me, it's about, I don't want to use the phrase role model, because I don't think that's right, but it's an example of, you know, I'm here, I'm openly bisexual. If you've got a problem with that sort of thing, tough fucking shit.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the problem with the culture at the moment is bi-erasure, pan-erasure, pretty much, you know, for instance, we've just started Pride Month. A lot of companies will obviously pride wash everything, but then afterwards the way they treat you is very different. So
yeah, it's business month. It's not, I mean, yeah, I get the idea of Pride Month, but let's be honest, it's business month. It's selling to the pink pound, it's disingenuous.
So do you think this is sort of the way that the left should stand up for themselves, with a massive sort of fuck you through art?
Well, I think the massive fuck you through art has always been there from the queer community. Absolutely. I mean, go back through history, we've always been there, we've always been angry.
In that respect then, like, we had Hatari play Eurovision a couple of years ago. I see a lot of similarities sort of in yourself, in the sort of the sort of leather and the sort of...
Yeah, I think there's definitely a resurgence, definitely in the queer community, of queer artists, especially in the industrial scene. There's definitely a resurgence coming through, like Hatari, myself. You see a lot of stuff on the US circuit as well that's coming through.
Yeah.
With a lot of openly queer attitude, and it's fantastic, it's great, we need more. Okay. Always need more.
And what has your experience in the music scene over the years, you know, what's the most important things you've learned?
Be kind and be genuine with people, because you can sit there and be a dick all day long, but it's only ever going to come back on you in the worst ways imaginable. So always be polite, always listen, because if someone's telling you something, it's usually not for their own good, they're usually telling you for good reason.
Do you have any new music coming out as well?
Working on a track at the moment for House Arcana, Rex Arcana's label. He's doing a compilation sometime next couple of months, so I'm working on a track for that. And of course, EP2 is in the works. There's going to be a couple of tracks played tonight from that. Providence and Spite are going to be played later on. They're from the next EP, Hell Hath No Fury Like. As and when release dates, that's a little bit up in the air at the moment, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, of course. Do you have sort of any advice for people wanting to get into the scene or start creating music themselves?
Just do it. Start. I hear it over and over again. Oh, I'd like to do this, but there is no buts. Go get yourself some music equipment, or go get yourself some music software. Spend what? 125 quid, 130 quid on Bitwig. It's an all-in-one DAW. Start playing with that. The biggest problem I find with a lot of people is they want to do it, but then when you tell them, well, if you spend some money on it, then that's the bit where they switch off. But if you spend some money, it's putting yourself in the mind frame of, well, I have spent this money, so I better go and work with this.
Definitely.
Nothing comes from nothing. You've got to put in. So just get involved. That's the beautiful thing with the industrial scene. Everyone can get involved.
Yeah.
You decide your level. It's that simple.
Okay, and lastly, do you have anything to say to your fans?
I hope to see you down the road. Next show, I believe, is going to be after this one. Yeah, I've got 3 gigs coming up, but they're all currently press embargoed, so.
Fair enough. Okay, well, thank you very much, Rhys, for joining us.
No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.